anyhow, we're trying to all get back to a really sattvic and ideal lifestyle for sadhana. Um, Even us when we were away, I mean, especially when we were having program nights, we had Abhiram and ourselves out till 1 a.m. like multiple nights in a row, and then our family members, they all, just because they're more influenced by the modes of nature, they're all out, up till midnight or later.
Oh yeah.
And so,
I told my sons or whatever, it's like, don't count on me for any of that.
yeah,
Ours wasn't regular either. I mean, I think only Christmas Eve we were up that late. But the program nights we were driving an hour and a half each way.
yeah,
By 10 o'clock, the programs are done, and then you still,
I'm usually done by 9 o'clock.
yeah. No, it was an austerity. It was worth it, but it was really an
the
austerity.
programs were starting at Abiram's bedtime, so I would just hold him and try to keep him
Yeah.
quiet.
But if you're staying up late for some devotional activity, that's one thing. But
Yeah.
other activities, and we have to somehow or other, we have to seize these activities and associate in the more favorable times in the modes of nature. So anyhow, we're here up early. I myself, my schedule, I've been going to bed past midnight practically still every night, and but I'm just forcing myself up to the times I want to be up. But I really would like one of my Ekadashi goals, because Ekadashi is tomorrow, is to reset my equilibrium so that I'm ready to have a nice devotional practice again. So anyhow, let's hope we can do that. But where were we last time? Maharaj Parikit, the sages, they want to hear about him. And so now Sutta Goswami is telling about how Maharaj Parikit got in the situation. Yeah, he's good. He's collecting the dust of all of the devotees' feet. This is expert of him. It's very good. So anyhow, Maharaj Parikit, it was told how wonderful it was that the Bhagavatam was spoken, and they wanted to hear, well, how did this happen? How did Maharaj Parikit, who's the emperor of the world, how did he get cursed to die? How did he make such a mistake? How did all this happen? And so they tell the story, and it was said last verse started it. Once upon a time, Maharaj Parikit, while engaged in hunting in the forest with bow and arrows, became extremely fatigued, hungry, and thirsty while following the stags. While searching for a reservoir of water, he entered the hermitage of the well-known Shamika Rishi and saw the sage sitting silently with closed eyes.
Did you put it on the TV?
Oh, yeah. That's a good idea. All out of sorts.
Just helps me if I can follow.
Yeah. Madhav, did I put the class on the TV yesterday? No. Yeah, I think I might have. Oh, you had it up naturally, I think, actually. So, Prabhupada was saying in this purport, if I remember it last time, that a devotee of the Lord never gets perturbed by bodily demands unless the Lord himself has some engagement. Like, for instance, Arjuna fell into the miserly weakness of and being bewildered of his duty in Bhagavad Gita. That's not something normally a devotee would do, but Krishna had a greater plan, and he'll allow his devotee to fall prey to such things if he has a leela he wants to perform. So in this case, Arjuna, he wanted the Bhagavad Gita to be spoken, so he spoke Bhagavad Gita to him, and so all of us could benefit. And in this case, Maharaj Parikit, who's a great devotee, and who would never typically act how he's going to act, but also due to some leela Krishna wants to perform and some lessons he wants to share with us, he's going to allow Maharaj Parikit to fall into what seems like foolish behavior. But he has some higher purpose. Even sometimes ourselves as devotees, even though we're kind of foolish rascals ourselves, sometimes we fall into some levels of illusion. We're like, I don't know how that happened. I have no idea how that could have happened. That is completely beyond my typical behavior. And we can also understand, well, maybe Krishna wants something. Or maybe Krishna has a special arrangement for how things are going to work out. here. So everything's the Lord's plan, and we'll see now what the Lord has arranged. Did we read this one last time?
I think it's so long ago.
You could start it again.
Yeah, we'll do start here. Okay. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Udirayat. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer their respectful obeisances on the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Narayan, unto Narayan Rishi, the supremest human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Shrinvatam Swakatha Krishna Punya Shravana Kirtana Hridyantastoya Bhadrani Vidhunoti Suhritsatam. Shri Krishna, who is the Paramatma, the super soul within the heart of each living entity, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses the heart of material desire of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous, when properly heard and chanted. Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati utamashloke bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular hearing of the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, almost all that is troublesome to the heart is completely destroyed, and love of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, established as an irrevocable fact. And while we're here and doing Mangalacharnas, do these prayers highlighting our lineage of gurus, who only by their mercy we can receive any knowledge and get this wonderful grace, stemming all the way back to the Supreme Lord, and all the prayers are addressing all of the personalities involved in awakening us from our darkened state and giving us transcendental knowledge, which is really the most amazing circumstance that could happen.
Asma Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Krishna Apitani Bhutale Swayam Rupakanamaya Kati Swaranatya Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Parakama Shri Guru Vaishnavascha Shri Guram Sagatam Sayam Gurava Vandeham Sagatam Sagatam Haritam Sasakitam Shri Tanideva Shri Radha Krishna Sagana Govinda Shri Shakaratamscha Hare Krishna Parasuro Dinabanda Jagate Gopeshta Gopika Bhakta Kanchana Gauranga Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Hare Hare. Namo Vishnudeya, Krishna Staya Srimate Bhagavatam. Namaste Saraswati
Do you know what Paschatya Deshatarine means?
Not exactly.
Paschatya is the western, Desha's lands, and Tarine he's delivering. So Prabhupada is the one who has delivered the people in the western lands. And so how is he doing? Through his books, through his starting of this Krishna consciousness movement, and by really giving an introduction to Krishna consciousness in such a way that can appeal to the Western mind. That is, it's very difficult for the Western mind to accept many of these things. But Prabhupada has given Krishna consciousness in such a simple but effective way that even us in these Western lands with all kinds of interesting belief systems and interesting habits and lifestyles can also take and understand. So
I was trying to discuss with my other son Jason yesterday more about, what he believes and feels and, about God. Don't you ask these questions and yourself? But he's very aloof from a lot of that stuff because I don't really think about it. I don't care to think about it.
yeah, that's most people. They,
But I'm not done talking to him about it.
no, you never give up. He has the same.
But he's a really, gentle soul. He's a good person. And he's not like anti this, anti that.
Yeah.
He's also actually quite intelligent.
What?
He's quite intelligent.
Yeah, he is.
Material.
Yeah. So for that type of person, they're innocent. So you just keep trying to share with them and see what happens. And unless he turns somehow averse to your trying to share with him, then you keep trying. You just, over time, enough prasadam, some kirtan, maybe he's hearing, maybe he hears a lecture, maybe it would be wonderful if you can get him to come to a program.
I tried yesterday.
Yeah, I know
He was
Madhava.
relieved about the lunch thing. I think he gave him an out.
Yeah.
Because he said he'd like to come over, but he didn't really want to come for the program.
Yeah.
Well, it is pretty extreme for
Yeah,
for
it's
Western.
yeah, it's a lot for somebody, especially if they do the whole program, all of the bhajans in the beginning, and then wants to speak the arati at the end. But usually, if they can sit through the class, we can build them up to be able to accept the arati. But yeah, you just see what you can do. I mean, any person, if they build up enough pious credit, they can hear Harikatha. But for the people who have not yet built enough pious credit up in their life, they can maybe build up enough pious credit to receive some prasadam, And
It's actually a very interesting and amazing thing that the diametrically opposed mentality almost it's not that he's against it, but he doesn't want to be part of it.
yeah, because it's the exact opposite of material sense gratification. And material sense gratification is the illusory pulling force which actually leads us into sinful life, because in order to gratify one's senses, usually means you have to step on the toes. And we'll see here, King Parakit, because his senses were disturbed, he committed a sinful activity due to the strong desire to gratify the senses. And this is what we're doing in this world. By making endeavors to gratify the senses, what we end up doing is many sinful things, and that cause harm and disturbance to others, actually. And so
Well, I try to be very tactful about, because it's not good to disrupt the minds of the ignorant, so to speak.
Yeah. You don't need to. You shush. We don't want to disturb them. But this person, Jason, is not an ordinary, just like ignorant soul. He is your son. He is also your brother. And also he comes from the same, devotional samskaras are also present with him, maybe not as much as was given to Madhav. So he's not he's someone you could probably push a little bit more. you
Well,
know,
and I was trying to
yeah,
do that a little bit,
yeah,
especially yesterday. I was just him and I,
yeah,
and I just was
yeah,
questioning him, like, well, what do you think about this? Or, does this make sense to
yeah.
you?
And eventually he'll have, like, I had an experience on Christmas Eve. I talked to my cousin, and the last maybe 3 or 4 times I was with him, we used to be like a lot really good friends because he's like a month apart from me. But over the years, our interests have vastly drifted apart. And now every time we see each other, it's like I feel bad because he's like, "Did you see this movie? Did you see this thing?" And he's like, I don't watch movies, like. And it's just like we're just like diametrically opposed lifestyles. But actually, I did what you did, where there was a moment where we were on Christmas and we were sitting there and we were watching The Fairly Odd Parents. I don't know if you know, it's this Nickelodeon show. So anyway, this stupid show we're watching, and actually we're sitting there both laughing at it. Especially him, he loves it, and I'm just like sitting there. I'm like laughing at both because it is funny, but then I'm just watching how absorbed, because he gets really absorbed in movies and TV. It's just where his consciousness is. So anyway, but then my brother came over there and he was like, "Why are you laughing? You're against all these things, blah blah blah," like to me, and I was just like, "Yeah, why am I laughing? Why am I like doing this whole thing? Why am I sitting here watching this nonsense?" So I turned to him and I started doing what you did. I was like, well, what do you think, life's about, and just like tried to get it. And we ended up getting into like an hour plus long conversation, and it got a little intense. But ultimately, I can tell because he's struggling immensely in his life as a result of, just being so absorbed in sense gratification. He can't even see he's materially sabotaging himself, And then what's
I
to
don't help
speak?
myself because I watch a lot of TV and sports and stuff
Yeah.
like that. And, so I'm not a good example, of what I'm talking about. That's why I try to stay kind of very neutral at first.
Yeah.
Just basic concepts and things.
Yeah, well, Prabhupada, there's like the Bhagavad Gita teaches the Acharya principle, and meaning that you can only, what great men do, common men follow. So you can only, only what you do, you can teach. But unless you actually exhibit those, and there are many things you are doing that you can teach him, But,
Well, we got talking, and I said, so how much red meat do you eat?
Yeah.
That nature.
yeah.
You know,
And because you're not going to be hypocritical about those subject matters, you can very nicely share with him. But on he's just like, oh, you should be let's say oh, you should be worshiping the deities everywhere. And if you're not worshiping the deities everywhere, obviously you wouldn't tell him that he was a
well, I
woman.
do. I mean, I do my morning program
Yeah, yeah.
about food stuff
Yeah.
and all that kind of stuff. However, I'm not chanting 16 rounds.
Yeah.
I'm engaged in a fair amount of nonsense.
So whatever you are doing good, you can teach him that, and you just keep doing like that, and then eventually, also one of the wonderful things, as you start sharing with others, you'll get more smart, and you'll actually remember. Like when my brother came over and said, "Why are you laughing at this? This is nonsense," and I was just like, Krishna sent him to tell me like, yeah, you're right. This is nonsense, And then I got engaged. I remembered, oh yeah, I should be engaged in preaching right now. And actually, it was, what's that?
Mata, do you want these off?
I was gonna go check on it in just a minute.
Yeah,
Maybe turn them, they're pretty hot.
yeah. So anyway, what I ended up doing was actually engaging in devotional service by having a really nice conversation. And by the end of the conversation, he was a little dejected because I kind of thoroughly dismantled a lot of his illusions of how he thinks, even materially, he's going to get some of the goals he's looking for. But ultimately, I think he realized, because I've applied some of these principles in my life, and he's seeing the results. He wants a wife, he wants some money, he wants a child. He wants to feel accepted in social groups and things like that. He wants a lot of things that naturally have come to me for whatever reason in this life. but I'm telling him that like actually like I didn't do anything. It's not like my own endeavors that, this is actually, and I was giving him the teaching of Jesus I shared yet, if you have to seek ye first the kingdom of God, and God can do anything in your life, and he's telling me how all of his life goals are being sabotaged. And he's like, well, why would God sabotage all these things? And I was explaining to him why suffering exists and how it's actually good for you so that you instead stop focusing on your own selfish desires and actually turn towards God and, well, what do you want? So anyway, by the end of the conversation, I could tell he was really, really meditating. He couldn't answer anymore. And he's a very argumentative person. But I just sat there. I'm like, I have the patience. I've been defeating him in many things since I was a little boy. So I was like, just do it. Just sit here and deal with all of his arguments and think about them very thoroughly. And yeah, actually, by the end of the conversation, I actually have so much great hope for him now. And
Well, you can preach by example as well.
Yeah.
It's very big, And I think that's what helps, like with Nava, living the way he's living right now. Really, the other siblings,
yeah, they'll see.
see that.
Yeah, well that.
And you.
Yeah. Well, that's actually ultimately, that's the only way to preach. Because I would say many things with my words, but actually I think the thing that did it, I was explaining to him, like, I know you want this, I know you want this, I know you want all these things that have come to me, but I'm telling you how I got them, and it wasn't through my own endeavors. This actually came only through the mercy of God, and I don't know how it all happened, other than me trying to serve God. And by kind of making that apparent to him, I could tell he really thought about it, and I think and not only that, he believes in Christianity, or he's supposed to believe in it. So I shared with him, this is Jesus' teaching. This isn't my own, And so by the end of the conversation, I can tell he really thought about it, and actually he also said he would reconsider looking at Bhagavad Gita again.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so we'll see. He has it, so we'll see. But anyway, let's do some Bhagavatam.
I'm sorry.
No, it's a good. No, this is very good to talk about these things and share with others. Because preaching actually, even if it's not going to benefit them much, it'll benefit you a lot too. Prabhupada, he would say, actually, the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. I don't know if you know how that came about, but Prabhupada used to have classes, and sometimes the classes would get small, but never zero. But one time something happened, and no people showed up for one of his classes. This is in the early days, where no one showed up. And Prabhupada, he remembered an instruction from Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, who said, if no one is there, then you preach to the four walls, the demigods will listen. So Prabhupada was gifted a dictaphone, so he just hit the dictaphone and he started preaching. And that preaching ended up becoming the most heard lecture of all, because it ended up being the introduction of Bhagavad Gita that you read. So you never, just by preaching, even if to nobody, you yourself, so much benefit comes to you. And just see, Prabhupada's the only time he had no one show up for a class became the most,
Sounds like Krishna's arrangement.
Yeah, it was completely Krishna's arrangement. So
There was no interruption, there was no...
Yeah, nothing. It was just pure focus on Prabhupada's preaching, and it became the introduction of Prabhupada's most widely read book. So don't be afraid to try. It won't go on deaf ears.
Well, when I read out loud.
Yeah. You read out loud, and
It's good to read out loud.
yeah.
So the actual sound vibration.
Yeah, and don't worry, whatever you try with your wife, whatever you try with your sons, whatever you try with anybody.
Well, I made spaghetti last night and I had the sauce and everything, because he said he was hungry, and I said, it'll be ready in a minute, I just gotta offer it. He knew what that meant.
Yeah.
So I went and did that.
Yeah, he's watching you guys. He may not be so interested right now, because he's young and he's got a nice friend group, and he's into music and all these things. So
But I think a lot has to do with how we act,
yeah.
and accepting because if you try to force anything on people all the time, it just
Yeah, you can't.
turns them off.
No, you can't force it, and it's not. But you can share something, and like for instance, for me to have a good conversation with my cousin, it's taken like 3 to 4 years, 4 years of just having empty, just like every time, just like feeling like, wow, this is awkward, But eventually, it just it came. So yeah, when the time is right, he'll be ready, and Krishna will act in his life. If you have well wishes for him, Krishna will he'll materially sabotage him to bring him to him. If the devotees have a well wishing towards someone, his material life is already over, because Krishna is going to not allow him to go deeper in illusion. So he's only going to help him pull out. So that's how all the pure devotees, like 7 generations, get purified of a pure devotee, of a neophyte devotee, 14 of a madhyam devotee, and 21 of a pure devotee. So even if you're a neophyte devotee but you want the well-wisher, you have 7 generations that you're going to liberate, free from the material clutches. So no problem.
Well, I'm relying on it.
Yeah. Well, you just see how whatever it seemed like little devotion you've done, just see how intensely it sprouted, And now just see what the future holds, what he's going to do, and what the generations, a lot of purification is going to happen in your whole bloodline, and so including Jason will definitely be involved. There's no how can he not? So we'll just see. But it takes time and patience, and it was amazing, even at the one Christmas party. Somehow or other, I got into a conversation with my uncle about, because he has the whole Bhagavatam set. He's read all Bhagavad Gita as it is, and even Nectar of Instruction. He's read a lot of books, but he's like, he's a big successful big successful person in the material world, and he likes to read many things, the Tibetan Book of the Dead and Mayavad stuff. But actually, we got in a conversation, and in the middle of a football game, I completely refuted Mayavad to him. The idea that we can be God, because a lot of the autobiography of a yogi and a lot of these texts teach you that you just got to remove the illusion and you're God. And so I kind of proved to not only him, but there was a whole room of like 12 people. My wife was so uncomfortable, but I just spoke very strongly about why this is a nonsense concept, and actually it ended up being like one of the best conversations. And then by the end of it, he was really wanting to hear. He wants to hear if the next time a nice Western preacher is in the area, he wants to hear from him. So yeah, like that. Is your car gonna be okay?
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering about.
Yeah, I think it'll be probably.
Try to pull over far.
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be fine. So anyhow, and he looks like a salt truck anyway. I don't think he's a
Yeah,
plow.
I agree with you.
Yeah. So anyhow, let's do at least one verse. Ready? Pratirudendriya prana mano buddhi muparatam sthana trayat parang praptang brahmabhutam avikriyam pratirudha. Restrained. Indriya, the sense organs. Prana, air of respiration. Mana, the mind. Buddhim, intelligence. Uparatam, inactive. Sthana, places. Trayat, from the 3. Param, transcendental. Praptam, achieved. Brahmabhutam, qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. Avikriyam, unaffected. The Muni's sense organs, breath, mind, and intelligence were all restrained from material activities, and he was situated in a trance apart from the 3, wakefulness, dream, and unconsciousness, having achieved a transcendental position qualitatively equal with the Supreme Absolute. So it appears that the Muni, Prabhupada saying, in whose hermitage the king entered, was in yogic trance. The transcendental position is attained by 3 processes, namely the process of jnana, or theoretical knowledge of transcendence, the process of yoga, or factual realization of trance by manipulation of the physiological and psychological functions of the body, and the most approved process of bhakti yoga, or the engagement of senses in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita also we have the information of the gradual development of perception from matter to a living entity. Our material mind and body develop from the living entity, the soul, and being influenced by the three qualities of matter, we forget our real identity. The jnana process theoretically speculates about the reality of the soul, but bhakti yoga factually engages the spirit soul in activities. The perception of matter is transcended to still subtler states of the senses. The senses are transcended to the subtler mind, and then to breathing activities, and gradually to intelligence. I remember we did read this last time, talking about the yogic process. Beyond the intelligence, the living soul is realized by the mechanical activities of the yoga system, or practice of meditation restraining the senses, regulating the breathing system, and applying intelligence to rise to the transcendental position. This trance stops all material activities of the body. The king saw the Muni in that position. He also saw the Muni as follows. So we talked about this last time, but how the different processes to achieve yoga. And it appears he's practicing this Ashtanga, or using different physical and psychological techniques, yogic techniques, to, you could say, manipulate the body and mind so that it can experience this state of trance in which yoga can be felt. But what Prabhupada is emphasizing here is how much superior the process of bhakti, and by doing devotional, engaging the senses in devotional activities like hearing, chanting, remembering, archanam, vandanam, dasyam, sakyam, atma, nivedanam, all these things. This is a superior process, and you can experience the same trance much easier. But this can also be experienced by the jnani, the karmi even, and the yogi. But if they can achieve yoga. But anyway, that's what yoga is like this united trance with the Lord. So bhakti is the most superior process, though, to achieve that trance. So we're trying. That's why we do our practices. I mean, even in chanting, in kirtan, you're supposed to be, when you're chanting kirtan, it's supposed to inspire some types of thoughts of the Lord when calling His name. Maybe a pastime of the Lord, maybe even a vision of the Lord. All of this thing comes, and when chanting japa, the same thing is there.
That's what I like about, lately reading Bhagavad Gita, because
Yeah.
I remember that from before. If I do it in the morning as part of a morning program, I think about it afterwards.
Yes.
I read, quite a bit.
Absolutely.
It helps me to remember.
Absolutely, yeah. And so, I mean, this is like kind of like a subtle form of hearing. You kind of, especially when you put yourself in the position where you're ready to submissively hear from Prabhupada, and by reading his books, this is, and it will kind of inspire sphurtis, or some type of memory of devotional life. So this is very good. And this is actually bhakti yoga. And so we keep practicing. We have many bhakti, but we have to make sure we're actually, hopefully, achieving the yogic state in what we're doing. And so we should also emphasize those activities that make us feel really connected, because that's what yoga is the connection to the Lord. So there might be certain activities I feel really connected in kirtan. Do you know what the number one activity to get connected in is recommended?
Hearing?
Especially in the beginning, hearing, but the most superior for it to stimulate the yes, it's impossible. It's possible to hear, nor impossible to do. It's sadhu sangha, but what's the actual activity that's going to stimulate the most yogic trance? Yes, it's the yoga dharma is sankirtan. In kirtan, that is when the most connection can be felt. But it's impossible to do kirtan without first gathering in sadhu sangha and doing shravan, and especially in the beginning. But actually, what those things are preparing us for is to have ecstatic kirtan, actually. So this is And if you're not feeling ecstatic in kirtan, then you have to go back to steps 1 and 2, sadhu sangha and shravan, until you feel ecstatic in kirtan. And so, I like this. Viprakirna jatachanang Roravena jinena cha Vishusyat talar udakang Tathabutam ayachata. Okay, Viprakirna, all scattered. Jatachanam, covered with compressed long hair. Roravena, by the skin of a stag. Ajanena, by the skin. Cha, also. Vishushya, dried up. Talu, pellet. Udakam, water. Tathabutam, in that state. Ayachata, asked for. The sage in meditation was covered by the skin of a stag, and long compressed hair was scattered all over him. The king, whose palate was dry from thirst, asked him for water. Purport: the king, being thirsty, asked the sage for water. That such a great devotee and king asked for water from a sage absorbed in trance was certainly providential. Otherwise, there was no chance of such a unique happening. Maharaj Parikshit was thus placed in an awkward position so that gradually Srimad Bhagavatam could be revealed.
Is the hair, the matted hair, is that his hair?
It's
Or
Shamak
the
Rishi's
animal?
hair.
What?
It's Shamak Rishi's own hair.
Okay.
And it's the sage. And yeah, and Prabhupada is saying actually it's such a rare occurrence that you would stumble upon someone in yogic trance. And also it's such a rare occurrence that he would be so thirsty and asking the sage for water. And the sage, due to his trance, would not be able to recognize his position in being in need, because he would happily give water. So Prabhupada is saying that this must be Krishna's arrangement, which of course everything is. But it's 9:30 now, so I think, and it's a long purport, so I think we'll end here. But yeah, it's good to be back doing this. This is a very, very good positive practice in our lives. And even if nobody came, or if it's just Madhav or just me, my wife, and Abhiram, it still would be very beneficial. A lot of times I'm like, oh,
Well, I'm partial to these morning programs.
yeah. Well, that'd be,
Opposed to the Sunday or Wednesday night ones.
yeah, this is the actually yesterday I thought because I put a little bit more effort than usual, and actually by great fortune I really, my effort was in hearing and studying a wonderful class given by Prem Prayajan Prabhu 5 years ago on Jesus. So yesterday was a unique experience where I felt it was a really beneficial class for all who got to hear. But I'm also partial to the morning Bhagavatams, and just going through Prabhupada's purports, and the Bhagavatam itself is so transcendental.
So I'm more of a morning person anyway. I'm
Yeah.
more alert, more.
Absolutely.
Um,
Totally the best time to hear, best time to do everything. Everything is in the morning. That's why it's very important that we are getting up in the morning. And if you want other people to succeed in your life, like maybe you're getting married or something and you want to influence them in a positive way, you have to somehow get them up early and get them into being able to practice at this time, because it'll be really helpful for them. And and yeah, you said it already, but if you really want to help anyone, let's say it's Jason, let's say it's Stella, let's say it's any friend that you really want to be a well-wisher towards, the number one thing we can do, you can start with prasadam and kirtan, because you don't need that's the merciful expansion of the Lord, and you need some punya or piety present before you're ready to get sadhu sangha, and then be able to benefit from that sadhu sangha, wanting to hear from them and so on. But the most important thing that you should try to do is somehow or other get them into sadhu sangha, and this is how they can make lots of advancement. Otherwise, it'll be a very slow process. It'll be too slow, almost. So without sadhu sangha, practically nothing can be achieved. Sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kai, lavamatra sadhu sangha, sarva siddha high. And that's all the Shastras are saying, that sadhu sangha, by just a moment's association with, I mean, obviously a pure devotee would be nice, but even the purest you can find, but a pure devotee can give sarva siddhi hai, can give all perfection. So this is what we should try to do, is ourselves get in that.
That's why I like reading, because Prabhupada said it is association with him
Yeah,
when we read his books.
absolutely. But
We
you'll,
read it out loud to the sound vibration.
yeah, and that's a good, but it doesn't, it's not the full sangha, because then we'd never need to do anything else other than read. But actually, we practically see, we could all just say, well, Prabhupada's my guru. There's the Ritvik movement are doing. And then if you take like that, well, why not? Why Prabhupada? I can have Bhaktivinoda Thakur as my guru. I could read all his books and associate. Why Bhaktivinoda Thakur? I can have Rupa Goswami. He's my guru. I read all his
He says a
books.
lot in that introduction to Bhagavad Gita.
Yeah. No, of course.
I
I'm
mean,
not.
It's
Yeah.
every time I read
Yeah.
something, it's like I learned something new.
Yeah, it's amazing. And even if you read Bhaktivinoda Thakur's books in Jaiva Dharma, you'll be blown away. If you read Rupa Goswami's books in so many, you'll be blown away even more. But at the same time, without personal sadhu sangha to illuminate these things for us, it won't be the same, because actually we have to
That's
understand.
why I come here.
Yeah, well, that's why we were here as a place, and that's why also we took extra time in New Jersey, because we wanted to hear more from elevated sadhus, and we actually now we have one more very high class sadhu coming on the rotation for the year. I just have to finalize things, so that's very nice. But yeah, that's. Yeah, we need to do this, emphasize this, and we have to, like you said, we have to do it ourselves first, associate in sadhu sangha and try to get in good opportunities for sadhu sangha in one's life, and then if we want to help others also, that we know that's the same thing. That's what we need, and that's what they need, and so we should invite friends and family when these opportunities come, and yeah. Come April, these opportunities are going to start coming again and being available. So we should, be ready at that time, and to really to hear and to take advantage. So anyway, Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So I'm very happy you guys are back. I'm back. I feel very grateful that I can be back doing this. I was feeling off by not having this program for those 3 weeks.
I may have to take the